Okay, so welcome guys. I already filmed this video once and then technology decided to do its thing and lose the whole video, so I have to start again. And I'm not going to let these demonic infiltrators discourage me. We are talking about my upcoming webinar this Thursday. Okay, they obviously don't want me to talk about it because it's going to be important. But yeah, so if you've been looking for a way to work with me and get some light body support as we're moving through these really intense changes on the planet, my webinar is a really accessible way to do so, much more accessible than my one-on-ones. It's just £22 to join, and the link to join is in the description. And what are we going to be talking about? Okay, we are going to be tuning in to the planetary grids here around where I am, Oaxaca, and then tuning into all the way across Chiapas, which was the center of the ancient Zapotec and Mayan kingdom, and then all the way to Caminal-Juyu, which is in modern-day Guatemala City, which is also the center of the ancient Mayans. Okay, and there's a lot that we're going to go into, okay? As we're moving through this intense portal with the solar eclipse, I don't know if you're feeling it, I'm definitely feeling it. These energies are super intense. At the time of filming, it's the 8th today. There's a lot that's coming up, to a lot of shadows, a lot of things that were hidden are coming up to the light of truth, okay, both in our personal lives and on the world stage. Okay, we're seeing a lot of things being revealed. I'm seeing it on a micro level in my own life, and seeing it on a macro level on the world stage, and then also seeing it within other in-between structures as well, which I'm not going to talk about right now or in the webinar. I'll talk about in future videos. Okay, there's so much that's being revealed right now about power structures. Okay, so well, you know, if you've not been tuning into what's been happening geopolitically over the last couple of days, you'll know, you know, you may not know, but Israel, who've been running like a bull in a china shop, just committing egregious war crime after war crime daily, can't even keep up with all the war crimes they're committing. They recently bombed, I think, the Iranian consulate in Syria, and killed some very high-level generals. So Iran has basically vowed to respond now and have given Israel the choice to either bring about an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, which would be amazing if they do, or face retaliation. Okay, now the Iranians are very restrained and have been very restrained, but from what the geopolitical analysts, the expert military analysts and experts on the region are saying, they do expect Iran to follow through with their word if their demands are not listened to. So what we're seeing on the world stage is basically a war between two sets of globalists. And if you've been following the agenda over the last couple of years, you'll know that this is kind of like, you know, a war between a satanic cabal and what many people believe to be the good guys, the white hats, the QAnon Trump timeline, but it's actually a very real psyop. They're actually, you know, just another team of globalists who, you know, ran a very sophisticated psyop to hijack the awakening community, who were leaning a little bit more left-wing and were kind of awakening to the bullshit around, you know, a lot of things that we were told about the war on terror, and people were awakening really quickly, and so they had to, you know, orchestrate a very sophisticated black op to hijack that awakening collective into this kind of right-wing fascist New World Order agenda that they're trying to bring about in the Middle East, you know, with the sacrifice of the red heifer and, you know, Donald Trump being this false messiah, that is they're trying to basically bring about World War III and a global planetary war. And they are using biblical prophecy as a script to follow, so that everybody kind of believes that this is real prophecy unfolding. You know, in my opinion, I don't believe that this is real prophecy unfolding. I believe that this is just a bunch of messianic nutters who are trying to enslave humanity, because at this time in our ascension cycle, where so many truths are being revealed about planetary control systems and how they've enslaved everyone on this planet, they had to quell an uprising. But obviously there is an uprising happening. We're seeing a massive indigenous uprising emerging from the Middle East with the Free Palestine movement, you know, loads of people coming together to support the fight for Palestinian self-determination and sovereignty, and the entire axis of resistance also trying to push back against these globalists who've maintained control over that region for a long time. And as you'll know, you know, the genocide in Gaza is not just the only genocide that's happening at the moment. There are also genocides in Congo, Sudan, West Papua, Tigray, and a lot of these have a lot in common. You know, for those of you who've researched this, you'll know that, you know, Israel has, and, you know, Israeli companies and Israeli billionaires have a massive hand in control over planetary resources in these regions. If you look at the example of Congo, it's very rich in mineral resources that we all use for our devices and things like that. I've spoken about this for many years. You know, that's why I have always tried to buy like a second-hand phone instead of a brand new phone. This phone is, you know, I did buy brand new, and I will be keeping it for as long as I can. And just, you know, looking at ways that we can mitigate our complicity with these genocidal, violent, anti-life systems. So many people are kind of waking up to this and decolonizing and re-indigenizing. So with the webinar that I plan to do on Thursday, I've been feeling a lot come up from these grids and from the wisdom keepers of this area, for us to really start listening to not just the wisdom keepers of the land, but also the, you know, the wisdom keepers of our own ancestral bloodlines, and connecting to the wisdom of those ancestors who were in communion with the earth and were connected to the Earth Mother. This is what a lot of this agenda has been about, with, you know, ushering the awakening community into this kind of Christian evangelical messianic Trump timeline, so that they can kind of set up the center of the New World Order in Jerusalem with the third temple, and have that as their headquarters. So, you know, people, these are obviously like very sophisticated, nuanced psyops that as an awakening collective we need to be aware of. So yeah, there were so many things that I said in the original video that got lost, and I'm hoping that I can remember everything and cover everything. Okay, so when I was in Guatemala 2 weeks ago, I filmed a Gridwork and Lightbody preview that you can tune into right now. You can get immediate access to that when you join the Facebook group. And it's, you know, I tried to go easy on people and not go too deep, because some of you are new to the work. And, you know, if we go really, really deep with Gridwork sometimes, and light body work, like with what I do with my one-on-ones, sometimes we can experience some emotional purging and emotional detox. So I did just a small preview just to prepare our light bodies. We did some light body work and some grid work. And yeah, there was a lot that was revealed around the temples in that area and their purpose, and also how the ancient history of not just Mesoamerica, but also other creation stories of other different bloodlines and different cultures have overlapping elements that point to our shared galactic history, okay? Particularly with the story of Quetzalcoatl, okay? Quetzalcoatl has a very strong energy and strong influence over these grids, these Mayan and Zapotec grids here. And these have a lot of overlap with the East Asian, particularly in modern day China, but also going all the way across to Cambodia and North India with the stories of the Naga serpents and these other kind of like dragon-like or serpent-like feathered serpent beings. And you'll see that a lot of the temples in this area have these reptilian beings carved into their structures, not just with the reptilian beings, but also showing just some really, really interesting stuff, okay? When you tune into that grid work, you'll see that it was shown to us who some of these elites that we're dealing with that are, are controlling and have enslaved humanity, who they really are. And what some of these ancient temple carvings have revealed to us. And, I hadn't researched too much about the what's shown on the temple reliefs at the time that I did the grid work. I did the grid work and it revealed, the purpose of some of these temples. And, the grid work also called us to, and the grid work won't necessarily stay situated around this area for where all of you are. It will also help to heal the grids around where you are. But it also took us through the planetary ley lines, the planetary meridians of the Earth body, to temple structures in Turkey and in Indonesia. And I knew that there were some similar temple structures in Indonesia, but I didn't know anything about Turkey. I knew that there was, a structure called Göbekli Tepe. Don't know that much about it. But since doing that grid work, I have discovered that very close to Göbekli Tepe, they have very similar pyramid-type structures, similar to Cholula here in Mexico, and also very similar to the structures that we see in Kaminaljuyu, which is modern day Guatemala City, where you have like these kind of pyramid-like mounds which have like a flattened top. So we'll see if the grid work can reveal anything about those and their purpose and what they were used for. But in the days following that grid work, I think it was the next day, or maybe even it was the same day, I came across an interview on the Fifth Kind. If you don't subscribe to the Fifth Kind on YouTube, I highly recommend that you do, because that guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's done some amazing research into just studying the Bible and esoteric Christianity and really, really analyzing it and looking at the possibility of kind of ET interference within biblical texts and the parallels with the Sumerian tablets as well. So he interviewed a guy called Praveen Mohan on his channel, and Praveen is a researcher who travels all around the world looking at ancient temples and studying ancient texts and seeing what these temple reliefs reveal. And it's so fascinating. There's carvings on these temples that show like these, not just these dragon-like beings, these serpent-like beings, but also what looks like like hybridization pods from which these kind of human serpent-like hybrids are emerging from. So we'll see how some of this ancient history dovetails with our galactic history as told in some of these indigenous creation stories, because this is going to be really, really important for us to understand the agenda that's unfolding on this planet and what we can do as an awakening collective to prepare ourselves spiritually for these changes. Okay? Anything that you bring into the shared field as an individual that you want to release will also be released. So during that grid work, we also cleared Freemasonic symbolism that was present in the grids. So there's a lot of, secret society type black magic programming in those grids, and you'll see very similar Freemasonic symbolism in the grids around major industrial centers and capital cities. In particular, the Freemasonic dualistic black and white checkerboard floor. And it was really interesting that, after we cleared that, the next day I was just exploring the city, and, went into some museums that had, just the history of, Guatemala City and the history of how they defeated colonial forces. And they had that same Freemasonic floor in some of these museums. And I was, in my stories, I was kind of talking to you guys about how I felt like, some of the museum displays were a bit propagandized. As as you may be aware, there's still colonial puppet governments in charge in a lot of global South countries. So that influence is still felt. I'm trying to cover everything that I lost in the previous video. As you can see, I'm losing some light. Let me see if I can get some more light in here. Okay, so we lost the light completely. I hope this will be sufficient. So yes, there are puppet governments in global South countries, obviously, but there's also anti-life control systems in global North countries as well that also subjugate and oppress people, as people are now starting to realize finally humanity is finally starting to recognize our shared interconnectedness and how our struggles are all connected. And how we need to kind of band together to kind of liberate ourselves from these control systems. I think, the main issue is we still do have a massive segment of the population that are still asleep to exactly how bad the situation on this planet is. Obviously, the most subjugated and oppressed people and indigenous people of color, people from colonized countries or areas which are suffering mass resource exploitation, have been aware of all these things. Other people have slowly been becoming aware of, just the occult forces on this planet and how they've controlled and subjugated humanity through, the sacrifice of children and all their blood sacrifice rituals that they do for power. So, this is the awakening that needs to happen. And as we navigate these times that, of great awakening, we're going to need spiritual protection and spiritual tools, okay? So speaking to, the wisdom keepers of the earth will be very helpful. We're also going to do planetary grid work to heal and run energy into the planetary grids, because there are dark technologies in those grids. So the Freemasonic symbolism that runs this kind of duality programs and moral inversion programs in these cities, because cities are kind of centers of of the, you know, the beast system. You know, it's not, I don't just want to call it capitalism because it's deeper than that. You know, it's the whole debt slavery system as established by the Federal Reserve and the bankers that have used these kind of black magic spells around fractional reserve banking to enslave people through kind of debt slavery and infinite growth. And that's why we're seeing, you know, record inflation. So the same people that are doing these horrific atrocities in Gaza are the same people that are also controlling the money supply. And I'm not talking about a particular bloodline or a particular religion. I'm just talking about these, you know, the satanic cabal that wants to manipulate humanity using mystery school teachings that they kept for themselves and hid from humanity, creating a power differential, okay? Because a lot of things were stolen from us, not just land and resources, but our history as well. And that includes the, you know, the mysteries, you know, our spirituality, our spiritual teachings, the living libraries of ancient wisdom that were obliterated through, you know, the evisceration of different bloodlines, you know, who would pass that wisdom down through oral traditions. You know, when I spoke about this on Instagram, when you eliminate these keepers of certain esoteric knowledge, you're basically exterminating entire libraries of ancient wisdom, because these people knew how to live in connection with the earth and with the land, and how the earth supports us, and how we can be abundant and free because of the abundance of the earth and Mother Nature, the divine feminine. You know, she's got us, you know, she has us, and she holds us, and she provides for us essentially for free, you know, with a little bit of our, you know, sweat equity and our, you know, us being in connection to the land and nurturing the land. You know, it is work. But, you know, these control systems have got us thinking that we need them to survive. We need the system to survive, when it's actually the complete opposite. Like, they are parasitizing us, our life force energy, and raping the planet for its resources in order to keep themselves alive. So it's us that's sustaining them. And so as we slowly, gradually unplug from the system and plug back into the organic earth, you know, the organic matrix, the true matrix, you exit the inorganic matrix, the false cube, and plug back into the life-giving abundance of Mother Nature, the true organic matrix, the womb of Mother Earth, and we will experience the abundance and freedom and sovereignty, you know, that we've been dreaming of. And that's why they always try and destroy indigenous people and their culture and their libraries of wisdom and their, you know, like we see in Palestine, like they destroy their olive trees, because those trees are what sustain them and have sustained, you know, their ancestors, and will sustain their descendants for many generations to come. So yeah, Princess Diana also coming through really strongly. And I didn't actually make this connection back then. Obviously, Princess Diana was destroyed. She had to be removed by the reptilian control system because she was a massive threat to them. She was exposing a lot of their evil. And she was about to start speaking up a lot for Palestine. You know, we know that she had a relationship with Dr. Khan, who was a surgeon from Pakistan. And then Dodi al-Fayed, so two Muslim men, one after the other. So for sure, obviously, you know, Muslims are very connected to the Ummah. We know about Palestine, even, you know, those of us who are non-practicing but come from Islamic countries, you know, we know about Palestine. We know what Israel is. So she was going to start speaking for the people of Palestine, so they couldn't have her, because obviously once you start revealing the truth about not just Palestine, but what the colonial outpost Israel is and what they've been doing and how they've been kind of controlling that region and creating black ops with all these false flags and, you know, all these you know, militias, like ISIS, for example, is a Mossad operation, things like that, how they were behind the 9/11 attacks. The whole thing could come crumbling down, so they had to remove her. But she was a very, very powerful Grail queen and priestess, that held a lot of Inanna frequency. She held a lot, like when I see her in the field, she has these beautiful blue tones, this blue like sapphire, like her engagement ring was sapphire. So she has these royal blue tones that are very sovereign and come directly from the Holy Mother Arg. And she will awaken that Divine Mother frequency within the light body. So she also helps to restore the balance of sacred masculine and sacred feminine within the light body. And during the preview, she came in with the technology of the blue rose, which is very much connected to the priestess lineages of Ishtar, Inanna, Isis, and the mystery school temples that had the priestesses that were initiated into ancient Hieros Gamos rites, which later became distorted and became, you know, temples of ill repute. They became like first they had like temple dancers, and then they eventually became what we now know as brothels. But originally they were very, very sacred places where priestesses and priests would engage in Hieros Gamos rituals and marry themselves to the earth. And they would get their sovereignty from the spirits of the land, and the divine right to rule would come from the spirits of the land and from the ancestors and from the will and the consent of the people. And obviously that became really distorted and a lot of false leaders rose. Okay, so I've mapped this out with a lot of my one-on-one clients who hold priestess codings, seeing how some of these distortions took place. It happened over many thousands of years. Actually, it didn't happen overnight. It kind of happened very gradually and very slowly as women kind of just started giving away their power slowly, gradually, and initiating men who were really not holding the proper coding that they needed to in order to rule. Initially, it was men and women ruling side by side as king priest and queen priestess, but that all became completely distorted and subverted. So a lot of the work that we need to do is also balancing the masculine and feminine energy, because what we're seeing with these reptilian forces, reptilian antichrist, anti-life forces, is the subjugation of humanity and the earth body, which are, we are divine fractals. We are divine feminine fractals of the feminine earth body. So it is a reptilian masculine and imbalanced masculine subjugating and raping and dominating the feminine earth body and humanity, which is also feminine energy. Humanity is about community and about working together and family structures and things like that, and reverence for the sacred feminine principle. And there's part of the war that we've been fighting on this planet has also been a war, an attack on our union templates in the higher heart that distorts our masculine and feminine energy and runs reversals and black magic programs both in men and in women, and has created these gender wars that we see on the planet. So a lot of the work that we need to do is in restoring this within our light bodies, within the grids, and then we will see the shift start to happen collectively. It's huge work and it takes a lot of clearing. I've been doing this work now for several years now, and I still carry some of those distortions, and it takes many layers of healing this. So I do invite you, if you're experiencing that, many of us are, then please come and to the webinar, and we'll also be rebalancing our union templates as well, and clearing any distortions, clearing any implants, and upgrading with some new technology so that we can elevate to a higher timeline and experience better realities. What else? Yeah, so what else did I want to say about that? Yes, so she's also, Princess Diana is, or Lady Di, is known in the fields, and she was known on this planet as well as the Queen of Hearts. So she actually came in because she was clearing a demonic entity that was like an alien dark mother, like a false Queen of Hearts. Literally looked like the Queen of Hearts in the Alice in Wonderland film. Is it? Yeah, Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, not Willy Wonka. Why did I think? Because of Johnny Depp. I thought Willy Wonka because of Johnny Depp. You know, the Mad Hatter, that film, right? So yeah, Alien Dark Mother appears in the field in many different forms. She's basically like the false feminine. She's the inverted feminine, or the wounded feminine consciousness. She's actually a demonic entity that attaches to our feminine wounding, our feminine shadow. And you know, we can have a feminine shadow as men as well. Just the wounds in our emotional body, because the emotions are the divine feminine. And this is the work that's happening right now, that many of us are alchemizing, because kind of looking at things from a higher perspective and looking for the higher reason why bad things are happening on the planet is like a very masculine way of approaching spirituality. It's not wrong, but if it's not balanced with the feminine path, it turns into spiritual bypassing. Both techniques are necessary, both paths are necessary for true alchemy and hieros, divine unification with Creator to happen. The feminine path is descending. It's about shadow work. So we descend into the body. We don't bypass anything that we're feeling. We don't bypass any of those uncomfortable emotions. We feel the fear, the rage, the grief. All of these emotions are sacred, and we go all the way in, and then we bring the light, the divine light of Creator, and the Christ masculine, that golden light, to help heal those dark, shadowy places and bring light to our darkness. So what can happen if we spiritually bypass and we cut off from our emotions, is that the tears and ruptures that we have in our light body can get demonic attachments attaching to them and infiltrating them and running negative programs in our light body. So Alien Dark Mother works with the Lilu collective, or the Lilith. Lilith is known in the ancient Hebrew texts as the first wife of Adam, and if you study those texts, she's a succubus, and she actually comes from a much older tradition. In the Sumerian texts, or even not even the texts, in the Sumerian oral traditions, the Lilu were known as a class of demons, and they weren't feminine. They were actually androgyne and shapeshifters. But they would often shapeshift into the form of a beautiful woman, and they were succubuses. They would feed on the energy of particularly masculine, feed on masculine sexual energy and distort it and pull it in different directions and pull the masculine off his path and off his higher timeline. But they can also get into our light body as well and run negative programs as well, causing our feminine energy to invert on itself, and just to become extremely basically siphoning our feminine energy and feeding it into black holes, and then we end up becoming a lot of the teachings around the dark feminine and the lunar feminine are working with these demonic energies. I've spoken about that very extensively. I have a full 3-hour training on it in my women's Facebook group, so just comment dark feminine or Facebook group, either one, and I'll send you a link to the Facebook group for women, where you can access that training, and we do a grid work as well in that. So yeah, I think that's all I want to say. There's just 3 days left to join at the time of filming. By this video goes up, it might be 2 days. So I really hope that you join me. The link is in the description. And if you're viewing this video after the time has passed, you can still access it as a replay. So yeah, I hope you'll join me, and I hope you're all riding these really, really intense energies with some grace. And yeah, I'll see you there, hopefully. Okay, bye.